Hello, good evening. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Saturday 5 p.m. demo at the Art and Artists online crop. And we are going to be doing something this evening. You'll notice my camera's up high. That means we are doing some scrapbooking. We need to be able to see the whole mat, and we are going to be using one of the collections from the September to December mini catalog, and that is called Nests of Winter, and I've been enjoying using this. You've seen me using it. We're going to be using some of the designer series paper. We're going to be using the die set as well, and possibly some bling too, because sometimes we just need to throw a little bling in there. We're not going to be using the stamp set today, but we are going to be using a few other things. So let me just grab those to show you. We are going to be using the dies from the Winterly Treetops. Okay. Then we're also going to be using the mini alphabet dies for our title. We're also going to be using the one-of-a-kind stamp and die bundle. And there's just 2 little dies in here, so it's a very price-friendly kind of set. You get 4 stamped snowflakes in here, along with a bunch of sentiments. And then you also get the snowflake die and the outline for the snowflake die, which is super fun. So we're going to be using that snowflake die and a couple of the snowflake stamps. And yeah, I think that's good. We'll just start creating now. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can just say replay. I think we got our camera pretty close to where we need it, so that is awesome. And we're going to be starting our layout with a piece of designer series paper, pattern paper. Now, quite often we use cardstock for the base, but today we're going to be using this fun DSP from the Nests of Winter collection, and this has just that lovely feel of birch bark. And it doesn't have the feel, but it has the visual feel of birch bark, which I love. And in front of our house, we have a beautiful birch tree. There's a few on our street. It seemed to be what they planted many years ago, possibly when the houses were built, because our street's a little older. The houses are like 70 plus years old. So, yeah, so birch, loving the birch. I see that Heather is watching. Good evening, Heather, and Mom is here too, and Lynn. Hello, everyone. So if you're joining me, be sure to say hi so I can see you. And I love it when you comment as we're creating, and that's always fun. All right, so we're going to start with this designer series paper, but we're going to do a little bit of extra to it before we get started. So remember how I said we had that snowflake die from the one-of-a-kind bundle, and when you hear me say bundle, that means the stamp and die together. You can buy the stamp separately, you can buy the die separately, but if you bundle them together, there's a little bit of a savings. So this one I got as a bundle because I really wanted that snowflake die. So what I did was I took that snowflake die and I cut it out. But what I want is the negative space from the snowflake, because remember that technique I showed you this morning of using the circle die to create a stencil? Well, we're going to use a snowflake die to create a stencil. And I love when I show you a technique, but then I show it again in a different way so that we can get a different look on something else, right? Because once you have a technique down, you can use it so many different ways. So I'm going to do some inking with this little snowflake stencil and some gray granite ink, which we also used this morning. Look at that. But this is one of the coordinating colors with the Nests of Winter collection, so that works well. And we're going to just kind of do Now, it might seem random to you, but I have an idea of where things are going on my page. And so, although it may seem random, it's not really random. All right. So let's add a little snowflake up here near the edge. And I'm going to kind of do a little sneak peek here because I want to see how dark my ink is getting. So I'm going to try and hold my stencil still so that I can get a little peek under the edge. Have you ever done that? You know, you're making grilled cheese sandwiches or something, and you keep like lifting the edge to see where you're at, and then you accidentally turn your back for half a second and you come back and the whole thing's burnt? Yeah, it happens to the best of us, right? It just does sometimes. And there's not much you can do about it. So it just is what it is. Now I'm going to go off the edge here a bit. And I have scrap paper in my drawer. And this scrap paper gets used a lot. So don't mind the fact that there's ink and marker and stuff on there. Don't let it bother you. We reuse things. Right? Are you a reuser in your craft room? I know some of you like taking apart cards, maybe a card that somebody else has made or a card that you have made. And you take it apart and you use portions of it for something else. Even store cards, people like to take those apart and create new cards out of them. There is nothing wrong with that. A little reduce, reuse, recycle. It's always a good thing. So we're going to just kind of ink our way along. We're not going to add oodles of snowflakes on here, but we're going to add a few just for fun little added texture. We already have really great texture going on here on our base page because we have that lovely pattern. I always say there's nothing more scary than starting with a plain blank white piece of paper. But we didn't start there with this because we started out with pattern paper. All right, I'm going to scooch my ink over here a little. I don't know why I'm putting that under there. There's no there's no rhyme or reason for that. But I will put it under this side. That was kind of weird to me. I guess I was talking and not paying attention. I just shoved it under. Weird. Weird doesn't cover it some days. You just go with the flow when you're around me, I guess. All right, let's add a little bit off the edge here. And maybe a little bit here. Like so. And you can make these as dark or as light as you want. I mean, they're snowflakes, so you don't want them terribly dark, but they need to show up, right? You got to be able to see them. And so let's add another one here. And the blending brushes work really great for this. I find the finer the stencil, then the more you need the brushes as opposed to the foamy bits. And yeah. So let's see. Do I want another one? I'll add another one kind of maybe around here somewhere. Just because. And also, making your own little stencil out of cardstock as opposed to a stencil that's made out of kind of, a thinner acetate, you have to get down into the details of your stencil. And the foam just doesn't do that. You'll see that the foam kind of leaves a gap somehow. All right, just because we've got kind of things everywhere, let's add a little bit here. It's not going to get seen much, but we'll know it's there. And how much fussing can I do on this? I guess there's a limit. Is there a limit? Do you know that there's a limit? Let's add a little bit here, just because. Like I say, there's some of these that may or might not even be seen. We shall find that out. All right. So we've just kind of done some randomish looking stenciling with that snowflake, but I want to add just a little bit more detail. And for that, we're going to use a couple of the snowflake stamps. So I've got them loaded up here, and we can just stamp, and I'm using the same color. We're just going to add a few little touches. And again, some of these, you know, whether they actually are seen is, you know, it's okay. Even if we never see them, we know they're there. We know we did a thing. It's all good. We don't need to stress about it, right? The unseen things can be just as pretty as the things that are seen. I don't know. Some sort of philosophical thing going on there. I don't know. I must be in some kind of weird mood. We're going to go in with an even smaller stamp, and we're going to add a little bit more, a little flurry of snowy goodness, just like that. And sure, let's add some down here. We'll stamp that one off the edge, get ink on the mat. It's all good. Add some here and there. I'm kind of just doing as I please at the moment. Is there a plan? There might be a plan. Who's to say? Yes, there's a plan. Of course there's a plan. But of course I didn't plan where I was going to put all those things because I didn't do them. Otherwise I would have them already on there. Okay, so once again, that was the gray granite. Does anybody else talk to themselves while they're crafting? I always hear that quote that says, yes, I talk to myself while I'm crafting. I needed some expert advice. Have you seen that one? It always makes me chuckle. Okay, so let's take a look now. Did I want to add anything more there? I'm thinking we're good, but I do kind of want to add a little something, and this might seem weird, and I didn't exactly plan this, but sometimes you get a little bit of, well, I kind of thought about it, but I've got the garden green. Again, that's a coordinating color with this collection, and I'm gonna do just a little bit of inking. Just humor me on this one. We'll see. Hopefully it's okay. Hopefully it's not too weird. Could be really weird. We'll see. We're just gonna do a little bit here and there. And you never know. You never know what might happen. We'll even add a little, just a little random touch. Maybe even down there. All right. I know it's going to be hard for you guys to see that on the camera, but there is a little bit of green there. It's all good. Okay, enough. Sometimes you need to know when enough is enough because we're going on. We're adding some things. Now, you may be wondering, what photos is Monica putting on this weird wood and snowy and green thing? And let me show you. Isn't this gorgeous? It might take you a minute to realize what it is. And it's going to take me a minute to be able to see if I'm giving you an awesome glare, or whether you can see it in the picture. So this is a photo that my husband took really close up with his macro lens on his camera of pine needles and cones right after ice had formed all over them. Like you can see the ice dripping, and it's not even like icicles. Well, I guess technically it is icicles, but it's just crusted with ice and like gobby drips of ice. Gorgeous, isn't it? And this one here is really, really close up. These are individual pine needles coated in ice. Isn't that fantastic? My hubby is a great photographer. If you ever want to see a few pictures he's taken, he's on Facebook. S. Hayward Photography. Yes, S. Hayward Photography. And he's not a professional photographer. He's just he loves doing it. And so here's another one. Look, you can see the little pine needles and the pine cone all just like crunched in ice. Like you can feel the chill when you look at this. I think they're gorgeous. Hey, Ina, nice to see you're watching. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick down these photos. Oh, and when I printed these, I go in and I use a little thing. I do all this on my phone. And I just added a black background and I made my photo a little bit smaller. So this ends up being like, well, the photo is 5 3/8 by 3 5/8, something like that. So with the black edge around it, it's just 5 5/8 by 3 3/4. So I just did that myself and printed it out. So I don't even have to mat my photos because I already got that black edge. And quite often we see photos with a white edge. But I thought, ooh, wouldn't that look chic with a black edge on top of the birch paper? So I've never really done that before. I thought I would give it a go. So sometimes you just got to try something a little different, right? All right. Now I went ahead and started doing this before I kind of had my my plan here. I'm going to come in an inch from the edge. I do know that much. But let me see how much space in between we have. Oh yeah, that's not bad. About that much. So what I'm going to do is what I usually do is I'm going to start with the top, and then I'm going to go to the bottom, and then the middle one will just be in the middle in between the other two. And I'm starting with the one at the top that's sort of like got a little bit farther away picture, where you can see all the big pine cones. And then I'm going to have like my really close up pictured here. And then this one down here that's also pretty close, but not quite as close. And this one's got like more of the brown from the pine cones than the one in the middle. So we're just trying to sort of get a good grasp on it. Hopefully my hubby will like this when he sees it, because it's going to go in his album. Alrighty. And photography is a great art form. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. See how I mix that in with our theme for our crop this month, art and artists. And photography is one of those art forms that is very cool and very special to us scrapbookers. If we didn't have the photography, we wouldn't have the stuff. I'm just trying to adjust my light to try and get rid of some of that glare up there, and it's not really working. Maybe if I move my light a little bit. How's that? That's a little bit better, but now it's really dark. Okay, never mind. We're going to put up with a little bit of glare. So yeah, photography, great art form. And I know a lot of you really enjoy photography. And so I thought it would be fun to kind of bring that in. Not that any scrapbook is without photography, but just photography that's, you know, better than me with my cell phone camera. Because my hubby does a great job. Okay, so I want to have some journaling spot for my hubby. So I've got another piece of the designer series paper from the Nest of Winter. And this one is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And I've also got a piece of basic white that I have cut to 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. And I'm going to layer those together. And that'll give him a nice spot to kind of write down the details. Now, I do know these photos were taken in 2013, I believe, because that's what it said when he posted them on his Facebook page as Hayward Photography. And so they've been around for a while, waiting to get on to a scrapbook page. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick this down. But I'm going to put my adhesive really far in because I have a little plan for what's going to go on here. and it requires a lot of tucking. Tuck, tuck, tuck. And so we are going to accommodate for that. And I'm going to kind of try and aim for like halfway between those two photos. Okay, looks good. So what I want to do is part of the die set for the Nests of Winter is the Winterly Treetops dies. And back here you can see that there's this big frame with evergreens all around it, and then there's a couple of loose evergreen boughs. So I have gone ahead and I've cut out this frame in two different colors. I cut it out in Pecan Pie and also in Garden Green. And if you cut them out, they're going to be identical. So if you laid them one on top of the other, you wouldn't see the one below. Okay, it's kind of hidden. But if you take it and you rotate it, then you will see that you get those pops of the pecan pie coming out from under the garden green, and it just makes it more full and more lush and more wonderful. Now, I could put that on there as a frame, just like that, but I do not want to. I want to mess around with this. And so my messing around is going to involve me chopping it apart. I know, you're totally shocked by the fact that I'm going to mess around with something, right? I'm going to grab my paper snips, and I'm going to snip this whole edge here from one end to the other. Because what I want to do is I want to turn this inside out. You'll see what I mean in a second. Oh, this one's got, it's got greenery that goes from one to the other. So let's snip it a little shorter. There we go. Okay, so what I want to do, let me bring these together, and I will snip this one to match. They're not exactly lined up the way they were originally, but that's a-okay. Sorry, I'm just snipping off to the side there. Okay, we've snipped it a little shorter. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of tucking, and we're going to do a little bit of sticking under. So this one, I think, is going to go over here, like so. But we're going to tuck it under. Let me grab, where's my take your pick tool? If you take this pokey bit out and you flip it over and you stick it back in, I've never showed this to you guys before, a little spatula. Look at that, a little spatula. And let me lock it in. Is it locked in? Good enough? We can use this little spatula to lift up stuff. So that might come in handy here in a second when we get this all gluey. So let's get the Pecan Pie gluey. And because I've left that nice little edge here, that's the perfect spot to add the glue. You should always use liquid glue like this in the air above your photographs, because heavens, it's never going to drip and land on your photos. I'm sure it will, actually. I'm being sarcastic. Let's stick this under here. Look at that. Look at that. We're making our frame inside out. Did you know you could do this? I bet you all did. You can take any kind of die cut and you can just make it work for whatever situation you want it to work for. Look at that. Tuck it in, and now we've got all sorts of lovely evergreens coming out from behind our journaling spot. All right, let's do some more snippety-doo-dying here. Let's grab this edge. We don't need all of it. Sorry, I'm snipping off the side. How rude of me. I want this one because it's the opposite to that one. Let's snip. And then these ones, they're going to kind of get lost anyway, but that's okay. We're just going to snip the little bits off. Okay, so we're going to start with our pecan pie. And nobody, because we're hiding the edges, nobody's even going to know that we snipped it apart because we're just tucking it under. Just like that. Easy peasy. Alrighty. Just like that. And if you want to make it fuller, you've got those individual little bows that you can add in there. I'm gonna actually shuffle this down a little bit to the left. There we go. And then let's add another edge. There we go. Now this one is missing a lot here, so we're just get rid of that. What do you think? How's it looking so far out there? Ina's talking about my 8s. Me and my 8s. Yes, they're inevitable. It is a part of measuring life. At least I don't do 16ths. We can all be grateful for that. Alrighty. Let's grab another section. This has actually gone upside down. You can always tell when a die is flipped over. Not saying you couldn't use the opposite side. It would kind of give a different texture. But I kind of like my dies to be the right way up. This little spatula is fun. I feel like I'm cooking and arting all at the same time. No wonder I was thinking about grilled cheese sandwiches because I'm using a spatula. All right, either that or I'm hungry. I'm not really hungry, but I can hear my husband making dinner, and maybe that's making me hungry. All right, let's do one last little bit on the bottom here. Lynn's saying it's looking good. Diane thinks it's good. Awesome. Hooray. Now you might wonder, because I'm kind of going over towards this corner, and you might think that this little corner over here is getting neglected. It's okay. We have a plan. There's a plan for that little corner, so don't fret. Okay, so here I've got all of this, and I'm actually just going to trim it off like that, and we'll just ignore that little piece because we're gonna add a little something extra there. More glue, lift and tuck. Isn't that what the plastic surgeons do? Lifts and tucks. We're doing our own little surgery here. There we go. So we have taken that frame that had all the evergreens going to the center, and we've just reversed it, and we've made it all going to the outside. So now it looks like you've got this whole bevy of evergreen goodness going on behind. All right, let's add a few more things. What else do we want to add? We're going to go into the designer series paper, and there's a page that has all sorts of little birdies on there. And I have gone ahead. Yes, I did this ahead of time so that you didn't have to sit and watch me fussy cut these. But I fussy cut these out of the designer series paper. Little birdies on little branches. And so we're going to add some little birdies on little branches to our layout. Isn't that cute? And also, those little bows that I said, the individual bows, I have gone ahead and cut a bunch of them. We're going to start with these ones, and let's see where we go. I want this little birdie kind of tucked in between these two, and so I'm just going to grab a couple of these, add some glue to their stems, like that. We're going to kind of layer them together, and we'll stick them on there. Oops, got to make sure we're actually on the layout. With cards, there's a little bit of forgiveness. You can go over the edges a little. Layouts, you got to kind of stay in the frame because it's got to fit into the page protectors. You are limited a bit. The envelope is a little more forgiving than a page protector. Let's add a little bit of greenery up here. So I've cut out some with the garden green, some with the pecan pie. And you know, when I cut the frame for these two, the inside bit of the frame that was left, I was able to cut 4 little boughs out of that little scrap too. So I didn't waste anything. I used it all. You can even use the negative inside space of cutting out the frame as, you know what, I'm going to use foam dots on this guy. You'll notice I have a little bit of double-sided tape here. Somehow at some point in the journey of this paper, I actually tore this poor little birdie, so his tail was almost fallen off. So sad. But I you know, what we were saying about plastic surgery, I fixed him. So we won't talk about that. The poor little birdie. Sadly neglected. I don't know. I'm probably putting the piece of paper in and out of the package when it was already mostly fussy cut. So didn't have a lot of togetherness happening at that point because I had gone and pillaged it many times. All right, looking for my tweezers. They're right where they're supposed to be. Thank goodness for putting things where they belong and then not being able to find them. Let's add our little birdie up here. Popped up on a little bit of foam tape. There we go. Let's also add this little birdie. And he can have a couple extra boughs in behind him as well. So we'll get a little bit of glue on these. We got one little pecan pie, one garden green. We're just going to kind of overlap them a little bit and then stick them in here because I said, you know, we can add a little extra. We're not limited to what's in that frame. We just need to tuck it in just a little more. There we go. Let's add some dimensionals onto this birdie. So fun. Alrighty. And this one, whew, did not have to have any plastic surgery to hold them together. There's my caution to you. If you're fussy cut out of your paper a lot, make sure when you stick it in and out of the package that you're very gentle with it. Because you can have an accident. Now, on another piece of paper that has also little birdies, there are also little pine cones. So, of course, I had to fussy cut some of those. So let's add some little pine cones into our mix here. I'm going to use my tweezers for this. Let's add a little pine cone here, just hanging off this branch because that branch just kind of ends. I think that was actually, it was on the edge of the paper, so the little pine branch that was sticking out was chopped off rather abruptly. So I chopped off the stem. And so that's my way of hiding that, is just add a pine cone. All right, let's add a couple on here as well. I'm going to even hold it with the tweezers while I put the glue on it. Oh boy. All righty. Couple little pine cones there. Now this little birdie is hanging out down here all by his lonesome. So let's add some little bits down here too. Let's add a little bit of pecan pie right there. A little bit of garden green. So these were in spots where, remember, that was a little bit bald. We can just add a little more. Just like that. And it can even overlap onto our photo. Let's add some, oops, I'm moving the whole world. We'll add some dimension onto our birdie. I think these birds are gorgeous. I love that the pattern paper has so many different colors of birds. They're not all the same. There are a few that are repeated color-wise, but a lot of them are in different positions, which, as a fussy cutter, is just a whole bunch of goodness for doing this kind of thing and fussy cutting them out and putting them in places. I'm going to tuck that one in behind for something a little different. All right, and I have a few extras, and because this little spot here, well, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. Am I really gonna wait? No, I'm gonna add a couple extras, just because that corner doesn't quite follow all the other good things that are. Oops, I need the spatula. Use the right tool for the job, right? That's #1 rule for a handyman. Same for crafting. Just use the right tool for the job. We're just going to add a couple extra little, oh, that one glued right to the thing. Couple extra little pieces, just like that. Easy peasy. Okay, we need a title on here. And you may have noticed when you clicked in that I was calling today's thing Frozen Moments. And that's what we're going to put on here, because I thought that really suited the photos. Let's see if I can spell M-O. And these are cut using the mini alphabet ties. There's the Z. If you're in the US, it's a Z. In Canada, it's a Z. One of the shows that we watched a long time ago was Stargate SG-1. And they had a thing called a ZPM. And all the Canadian actors on there would call it a ZPM. And some of the American actors, you know, they were kind of playing it up, and they'd be like, the what? Yeah. Gotta love it. Okay, let's use our sticky end here to kind of help us arrange these. And I like how that nice little snowflake is right in behind there. Frozen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our E is the middle. So that should go in between like that. Does anybody else do that? Where they trying to decide how to center something? Count the letters. It works. That one just doesn't want to stay straight. That's okay. It's got a little bend in it. All right, Frozen Moments. Super cute. Let's glue it down, and we're going to do our trick where we add a little glue to our hand. Just a little skiff of glue. We're going to grab our tweezers, and we're going to tap in the glue, tap off. There we go. Tap in, tap off. Tap in, tap off. And you might think, why are you tapping it off? You just put the glue on. But the thing is, if you have too much, it'll squish around the edges, and it'll not be what you're looking for. So tap in, tap off, and it'll all get, pretty much all get used up in the end, because you're just going to keep tapping and picking up glue. And then any that's left over, you get to have the fun of peeling it off later when it dries. Because, you know, it's like what we did in kindergarten, as I always say. So, have you tried before doing this technique where you take a piece of pattern paper and then do some of those sort of background techniques, sort of mixed media? A lot of people call it just mixed media, where you do a little stenciling, do a little stamping, and kind of add a little something extra, a little bit of inking. So what I was trying to do with the inking was trying to get a little bit of green glow around in the places where the birds were going to be and the greenery, and then just some random places because why not? So there was a bit of method to my madness, as they say. And we are trying to line these up. We'll see how effective it is. It'll be close enough, I think, though. I think I have enough glue to get all my letters on. Hooray! Lovely. Now, I'm going to put the lid. No, I'm not going to put the lid on my glue. I do have a few extra little bows, and I was trying to decide if I was going to use them around my title. And I'm almost thinking that maybe where this little glowy bit is, I could add a few little pieces of greenery there. What do you think? Should I add a little bit of greenery there? Or is that just weird? Let me know in the comments. Is it weird? Or yes, go ahead and add it. I'm thinking, yeah, no, that's fine. I will await your verdict. Whether it's weird or whether I should add it. Or whether I should add it maybe over here. You want to see what that looks like? On the side rather than at the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right to the edge, and then I'm going to trim it. Just so in case you're wondering what's happening there. All right, let me know. And then we're also going to grab some bling, which as per usual, I did not get out. So give me half a second while I rummage through my bag of bling. We have this, and this is the Earth Tones Shimmer Gems, which is from this collection, and it's got some sort of snowy ones, some garden green, some crumb cake, and some Cajun craze, I think would be the other color. Copper clay, sorry, copper clay. I'm just looking at the package of the paper for the colors that are in there. So copper clay, crumb cake, garden green, and then just basic white, I guess. So do we need some bling on there? I'm actually kind of thinking, because I love these little berries, but that's the only spot those little berries showed up. I wonder if I have something that could be the little bit of berries. Ina's saying yes to the bows. Lynn's saying yes at it. And Ina's saying at the edge by the title. I do have these little discs that have the Poppy Parade ones, which could be kind of like little berries. Those are burgundy. That won't work. Ooh, I have the sparkly ones too. Well, now. And then, of course, I have these ones, which are like the icy ones. Okay, so now I need your other opinion. While I'm sticking down some greenery, I've got the clear rhinestones that I could add, which are kind of icy. I've got sparkles, gold, silver, and black. Then I've got some reddish iridescent discs. And then I have these shimmer gems. So you decide on that. Well, I'm doing this. We're scrapbooking by committee. And then we'll be done, because I got to go pick up some kids from the mall. They're doing Poppy campaign with the Legion right now. And they're going to need to be picked up momentarily. Oh, the crafting that gets interrupted sometimes. But that's okay. We're pretty much done. So I'm going to just have that going off the edge. Down here by the title. Thank you for your input on that. Tap, tap, tap. Stick, stick, stick. Like so. We will trim that off in a moment once the glue has had a chance to do its gluing business. All right, what do we say? Ina says, sparkly, add a wee bit to the lower right-hand corner of the frame. the lower right-hand corner of the frame. Down here, some greenery down here. I can do that. I still have one more thingamajiggy. You're right, it is kind of naked down there, isn't it? Ta-da! Ask and you shall receive. All right, we're going to unlock this. We're going to come around here with the pokey tool. We're going to lock it again. There we go. All right. Sparkly silver and gold. Silver and gold. Silver and gold. Anybody else? All in? Silver and gold? I'm going to pick one of them. And I think it might be the gold. It's not really a red, but it's fun. But there's also these shimmers in the copper clay. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe gold too. All right, let's go for it. Now we got our pokey tool. Let's lift a few. And because we want to add a little something around our title, let's add a little bit here and here and here, just to kind of jazz up our title a bit. Maybe adding here and here, like that. That's super fun. Lynn's like, why not? Sure, let's do that. I'm going to put, I just realized I'm like smooshing my little gummy bit. Let me put the cover back on. All right. How about a little bit of sparkle down here beside this little birdie? Let's add a little sparkle, sparkle on the edge of our little journaling spot, like that. And, well, we can't forget this guy. We're going to ignore this one because there's lots of sparkle here. So we're going to come over here. Let's add some sparkle to our little birdie. Let's add one right on the photo. Why not? We can do that. And then here. Oops. Picked it up and left it behind. And maybe here. Here. Yeah, right there. We're going to tuck it right in there. Excellent. All right. Let's put the lid on this because that's sharp. There we go. Now, to trim off our edge, we're going to flip our layout over. That's why we had to wait for it to dry for half a minute. Always go from the back side when you're trimming something because then you can see where the edge is. If you try and trim it from the front, you're inevitably going to chop off things you don't want to chop off, and nobody likes that. That's not a happy ending to a scrappy day. So we started out with our Birch Designer Series paper from the Ness of Winter. We added some stenciling from the stencil that we created with our snowflake die. We stamped some extra little snowflakes here and there just for a touch. It's there, but not there. Then we added a little bit of extra green with our blending brush. We added our photos, and then coming in with that frame, reversing everything so we can make a nice little focal point for our journaling. We added in the gorgeous photos that my husband took, some not die cut, but fussy cut birds and pine cones, which really goes with the photos. Then our title, and pardon me, hiccup, bling. We had to bling it up as well because we know that there's a lot of sparkle in those photos coming off of all that ice from the storm, and so it just kind of went with it. We just had to add a little bling. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all those steps and all the different things that you can add and use your tools in a little bit different ways. And if you create a project like this, be sure to take a photo and pop it in the comments. I can't wait to see it. You'll have to pop it in the comments in the Facebook crop or on my Facebook page when I post them there sometime this week. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, And we will be on at 7 o'clock for Chat and Craft. We'll see you then. Have a great rest of the evening. Toodaloo. Bye.